Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Eric May, and on behalf of OTC Markets, as well as our co-host Social Suite, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Kodiak Copper Corp, a company focused on copper projects in North America. Please note, you can submit questions in the question box to the left of the slides. You can also view the company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I am very pleased to welcome Claudia Tornquist, President and CEO of Kodiak Copper, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol KDKCF and also on the TSXV under the symbol KDK. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, everybody, for calling in. It's a pleasure to be here. I will speak about Kodiak Copper. We are a copper exploration company focused on the MPD project in southern British Columbia. We made a discovery, the Gate Zone, which was a real game changer for the company and have since been very successful drilling out the Gate Zone and have a big drill program going on this year on multiple targets, multiple new targets, with the aim to make one or several more discoveries. So very exciting year for our company. The drill is turning. First off, please keep in mind that I will be making forward-looking statements, and you can look up the relevant guidance on our website. And I'd like to start with a couple of words about the copper market in general. Copper demand, I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new there, will be driven over the next years, if not decades, by the energy transition. The clean energy green revolution will result in a lot of demand for copper simply because all the technologies that underlie this transition are very copper intensive. For example, an electric car takes 3 to 5 times more copper than a conventional car. Very much the same story for solar energy, wind energy. So with now 80% of the world economy on a net zero carbon target of some sort, there's no doubt we will see strong demand for copper for a long time to come. This is really a global mega trend. Now, what's a very different picture there is the supply side. So if you look at the left slide here, that's a forecast by Goldman Sachs. That's a supply-demand gap of 8 million tons of copper. That's a big gap in a market of some 30 plus million tons. There are other forecasters who have 9 million tons, 5 million tons. I don't think there's any single analyst that doesn't forecast a supply-demand gap. And the reason for that is simply what you see in the graph on the right side, which shows copper discoveries since the 90s. And the trend is very clear. It's very, very strongly declining. And in particular, in the last 10 years, there simply haven't been any big copper mines that were discovered. And since it takes years to bring a new copper mine to production, we know already now that in the next 10 years or so, there won't be any big new copper mines coming on stream. And to fill a deficit of some 8 million or 5 million tons, just to put that into perspective, you need dozens of big mines. A big copper mine is maybe 500,000 tons, or a smaller one, 100,000 tons per year. So we need number of big mines or multiple smaller mines to produce the copper that's needed for the green revolution. So a lot more copper will be needed. That bodes well for high copper prices going forward. And that's exactly what Kodiak's business is. We are in the business of finding the next copper mine. I'd like to say a couple of words about the people behind the company. Obviously very important, the management team. On the left is Chris Taylor, the founder and chairman of Kodiak. Many of you will know Chris's name from our sister company, Great Bear, which he also founded, which was one of the big discovery successes in recent years, if not decades, a major gold discovery that he sold for $1.8 billion last year. So a really big success for Chris. He's now a bit of a celebrity in the resource space. Well, he's really creative and out-of-the-box thinking geologist. And what he did at Great Bear is essentially he took a project that lots of people had looked at and couldn't really bring to fruition. He had a new approach, tried something new, and big discovery resulted. And Kodiak is a little bit of a similar story. Our project, MPD, has also been historically explored. And then Chris had a new idea, a new interpretation. And that's really what led to our discovery. So Chris is a very important part of our success. My background, I've been now in resources for over 20 years, almost 10 of those with Rio Tinto. And my experience and roles were mostly in the financial commercial area. So I've done things like M&A, business development, business evaluation, capital markets. So Chris and I were very complementary in our background and worked together really well. Then on the right is John Robbins, also important part of our team. Many of you will know his name. He's been around for many years and had many successes. He's a mining entrepreneur and has been behind many successful companies. John is a entrepreneur who's put together the Discovery Group, of which Kodiak is part. Discovery is a loose alliance of 8 exploration companies. It's a fantastic group to be part of. It gives Kodiak great access to technical expertise, industry contact, capital markets contacts. It's just a fantastic group of people. I feel very fortunate to be part of a strong and credible group. And it gives investors a lot of confidence because the Discovery Group has been around for many years. It has a good reputation, had many successes, and it just gives investors confidence that the companies in it are well-run companies with projects of merit. So that was the sort of corporate side of Kodiak. I will now speak more about our MPD project. And as a start, I have a video that gives an overview.
Kodiak Copper is located in British Columbia's prolific copper belt known as the Quesnel Trough, which runs through the south of the province. Kodiak has caught the market's attention with a new copper-gold discovery at its MPD project.
MPD is very accessible. It's a 3 hours drive from Vancouver near the towns of Merritt and Princeton. Infrastructure and accessibility is obviously very important for economic potential and future development. What's great about the MPD project is its location. We are here in southern BC where you can work year-round and in a very established mining area. There are a number of large mines nearby. For example, Copper Mountain or also Highland Valley, New Afton. So it's a very established mining area and everything you need for an exploration project is right at our fingertips, which makes our work very cost effective.
One of the things I noticed when we were reviewing the MPD project initially was the presence of copper oxides over many kilometers on surface. So what it indicated was that we were sitting on top of a major porphyry system, and certainly the right type of rocks that indicated that there could be a major discovery to be made. This project has the potential to host a major copper porphyry discovery. And of course, with the drilling that we've done recently, we've shown that that's the case. Now, On initial review of this project, what was really impressive is that we had over 100 drill holes over 10 kilometers, and all of these holes have copper in them. And when we're looking at the rock, we saw the right types of rocks and the right types of features that indicated we could be sitting on top of a major copper system.
The MPD project was drilled historically since the 60s, so for over 50 years. And most of this historic drilling was very shallow, almost all only down to between 100 and 200 meters. And that is where we saw the opportunity. So we drilled deeper, we drilled down to over 800 meters, and that's where we got our first discovery hole right here at this location. It was a hole that was mineralized top to bottom and had in the middle a very nice high-grade zone. That was the first time that we saw that in this large porphyry system there are higher grade zones present.
This is some of the best looking drill core that has been drilled in this part of British Columbia. Now we're located here, we're in Merritt, and that means that in all the areas around us we have copper mines in both directions. What you typically see in this region is about 1/3 of the grade. The grade that we've drilled here on the copper and the gold side is 3 or 4 times higher than many of the mines in this area. The types of alteration that we see, the potassic feldspar alteration, the silicification, the presence of chalcopyrite, the presence of bornite, these are all indicative features of a strongly mineralized copper center.
We've made a great start and had some fantastic high-grade results early on in our drill program. We have now gained Teck Resources as a major shareholder. So now we have our work cut out. We have a large 10 square kilometer area of historic drilling and have only poked deeper holes into one small corner of it. That means lots more drilling to come and lots more potential for our shareholders to be unlocked. It'll be an exciting time for Kodiak going forward. Here is a map that shows where the MPD project is located. We are in southern British Columbia in an established mining area and with fantastic infrastructure. We are right off the highway. From Vancouver, it takes 3 hours to get to our project. You turn off the highway and literally in a couple of minutes, you are at the drill pad. And I cannot highlight enough how important and what an advantage it is to be in an established mining district, because everything you need for exploration is right at our fingertips, whether it's a workforce, whether it's drilling contractors, supplies, etc. It makes for very cost-effective exploration, and it will make an even bigger difference when it comes to building and operating a mine. It will be a whole lot easier to build an economic mine where we are in an established mining district than it would be in a more remote location where many other porphyry projects are located. As I mentioned in the video, the MPD project has been explored for many, many years, since the 60s, and many drill holes drilled. You might ask, why has nobody before us made it successful? And there's one key reason I would like to point out, which is that all the previous exploration has always been on smaller land packages. We were, for the first time, in a position to be able to acquire the consolidated land package, and that really was the first step to our success. Because for porphyry system, which is all about size, having only a small claim on top just doesn't work. And being able to access the consolidated package and all the historic information, that was a very important starting point for us. What I'd also like to highlight is just the size of the project and the footprint. These black spots on the black dots on the map are historic drill holes, and they are over an area of in total 14 square kilometer, where there is already copper and gold drilled near surface. And that was one of the reasons why we liked the project and originally acquired it. It has a very big footprint, and that just indicates it's a big system and it has real size potential. And then what we did different from everybody before us is simply we drilled deeper. Chris Taylor's thesis was that the higher grade mineralization was deeper than the level to which the historic exploration drilled down, which was on average, if we do the math, there were 50,000 meters and about 400 holes, so 120 meters per hole only. So Chris's thesis was that the higher grade mineralization was deeper down. We drilled down to between 700 and 800 meters in our maiden drill program, and it worked right away. We made a discovery in our maiden drill program. This is our high-grade discovery hole. That was in autumn 2020, and that was a real game changer for the company, transformative event. We saw a big rally in our share price. Teck Resources invested. We raised $12.7 million. Teck invested $8 million, which led to another rally in our share price because the market obviously saw that as a big sign of confidence to have a major company invest that early in our exploration progress. And that just showed that Teck, just like we do, thinks that this project has size potential because they are a big company. They're not interested in small projects. So that hole really kicked off big drill programs for Kodiak. So since this discovery hole, the last 2 years, we have drilled in total 48,000 meters, almost all at the gate zone, which is what our discovery is called. And you see on these two maps the progress we have made in those 2 years. So on the right, in this plan map, you see the red dotted lines outlining a corridor, and that is the corridor over which we have drilled high-grade mineralization at the gate zone. And until now, that's a length of 1 kilometer approximately, and a width of about 350 meters, and we have drilled down to around 900 meters. So if you picture those dimensions, that's already quite sizable, and we're certainly very pleased with where we got to with the gate zone. It is a nice high-grade porphyry center of substantial size, and so good start to our exploration work. But what's very important to understand is that the gate zone is only one of multiple targets on the property. And really, we're only at the start with our work here. This plan map shows our entire property and all the targets on it. At this time, we have 18 targets. And the gate zone is in the northwestern corner, the little yellow star that you see there. And the yellow and red dots are other targets. The red dots are targets that have been historically drilled, where we have already mineralization, just like at the gate zone, that has never been tested at greater depth. And then there are multiple other targets, the yellow dots, that we have generated with our regional work. So in total, 18 targets. And this year, we will be testing several of those. So unlike the last 2 years, where we focused on the gate zone, our first discovery, and we drilled that out, we demonstrated the size of it. This year will be a very, very different exploration program because we will be testing 4 or 5 other targets with the aim to discover the next and the next gate zone. So there's nothing really incremental about this year's drill program. It's a really important and pivotal year for the company, where we take the same model that brought success at gate and apply it to these other targets. And if we're successful, this would be a big step forward for the project. It's really all about demonstrating the size and the scale of the system we have here. So a very exciting year. We started drilling in April and added the second drill, so are now drilling full speed. We have a fully funded drill program of up to 25,000 meters going on. And as I said, we will be testing 4 or 5 targets. And we have started at one of them called the West Target in the southern part of our property. And just today, we released the first results from this target. We had results from 3 holes, and I'm very pleased to report that we hit porphyry mineralization below the shallow drilling at the west zone. That's what we were looking for. So very pleased with these initial results. We had nice long intercepts. The longest was 533 meters of 0.34% copper equivalent. And within that, a nice 158 meters of higher grade of 0.51 copper equivalent. These grades compare very, very well with what's mined in the area. To just as an example, the neighboring mine has a grade of 0.23% copper and a cutoff grade of 0.12% copper. So what we're seeing at the west zone is just like at the gate zone, nice high grades that are going to depth. And so we are very encouraged by the first results from this year's drill program and have many more results coming later in the summer and then throughout the autumn and into next year from the West Target and several others this year. Last but not least, our capital structure. Couple of points to highlight. We are a tightly held company, have approximately 64 million shares outstanding, market cap of around $50 million. The most important figure on this slide is probably our cash balance, 11 million at this time. So we are fully funded for all our work this year, which is very, very important because the market, as I'm sure you all know, are terrible at the moment. And it's very difficult to raise money. And many of our peers are not working or preserving cash. And so I feel very fortunate to be in a position to execute a big drill program with lots of discovery potential and be funded for it. Largest shareholder, Teck Resources, as I mentioned. Teck has invested repeatedly since the initial financing. Every time we financed since, they have contributed. So a fantastic partner. There's one analyst, one bank, independent analyst covering us. That's Cormark Security. And their target price is $3, so a lot higher than what our current share price is. You can see our share price development here at the bottom. This spike that you see on the left, that was when we made our original discovery, the gate zone. And currently we're much lower than what we traded at the time. The market has not been kind to us. I think we're still doing better than many of our peers. It's just been a very, very difficult market for juniors. But obviously from an investor perspective, it's a good time to buy. And as I pointed out, this year we have the potential to make several discoveries. And so I'm confident we'll be able to generate values. Our aim is to repeat what we did in 2020 and generate some good returns for our shareholders through discovery. So very exciting year for our company. That brings me to the end of my presentation, and I see there are multiple questions in the Q&A. So let me go to those. We still have about 5 minutes for questions. The first one here, there are two which are actually quite similar. I can take those at the same time. One question is, what is your experience working in British Columbia? And the next one right after is, are there any governmental provincial incentives you can access? So in general, it's been for us fantastic to work in British Columbia. It's obviously a very safe and secure jurisdiction, and with a very established mining industry. We have had very good experiences with permitting, have had all our permits in a timely manner, and the work has been generally very easy and good. There's a lot of political will, and there has really been a market change in the last year or two in Canada and in British Columbia, with politicians being very supportive of the mining industries because they see the need of resources and critical minerals for the green transition. And in Canada and British Columbia there have been tax incentives for investment in mineral companies that we can access and have access through the flow-through financing, which has significantly reduced our cost of capital and has made it much easier to raise money. So I can only say the best about working in British Columbia. It's really a fantastic location, in particular in the existing mining area where we are with several existing mines around us. The next question here is, how is Teck Resources involved in your work? Well, Teck is an investor in the first place. As I mentioned, they invested $8 million when we made our original discovery in 2020, and we've financed twice since then, and both times they have contributed to maintain their 9.9% share. Their only right as a shareholder is to maintain their 9.9% share. We don't have any other. They don't have any other rights, such as board seats or joint venture committee or anything like that. Having said that, they are quite involved informally. They are in the area. Teck has a big copper mine just 50 kilometers north of us. And so their technical team has been on site multiple times. It's obviously fantastic to get their input. And they have been very helpful. They have helped us with a number of things, with safety systems, with First Nations relations, and have been a very supportive and helpful partner for us. Now let me go to the next question. Beyond your 2023 drill programs, are there any other key milestones for the next 12 months? Well, key milestones will be our drill results. We have obviously lots of results coming from a 25,000 meter drill program, up to 25,000 meter drill program. So we will have the next batch of results in later in the summer, and then throughout the month that follow. And it's really discoveries that will move our share price, and we have the chance to make one or several of them. And I think those will be the key milestones and the key catalysts for our investors to look out for. Let me go to the next question. Will you define a resource at the gate zone? That's a very good question. And that's a very strategic decision that we face. We could go down the route and define a resource at the gate zone. We have drilled it out and could start the process of defining a resource. Or the alternative strategy is to drill out our other targets or test our other targets. And that's the route we're going, because we at this stage really don't know yet whether the gate zone is the best, the highest grade, the biggest porphyry center we have. There might be better ones that we haven't tested yet. Remember, we have 18 targets on the property, very large system. And so what we are doing at this stage is we will be testing multiple other targets to really demonstrate the size of the system of the project. And that is where we think we will generate the most value for our shareholders. So I'm looking at the time now, and we're coming up to the end of my time slot. So thank you very much. There are more questions. If I haven't been able to answer yours, please do book a one-on-one meeting or get in touch with us. Thank you very much for listening in. It's been a real pleasure.